Hey, Carl. Yo, what's up, Rich? Hey, Carl, what time is it? It's time for Travels with Carl, baby. Let's roll. Let's ride, Carl.
Yeah, it's time. It's past time. I'm like 3 episodes behind. But lucky for me, I got a 3-day weekend. Welcome back, my friends, to Travels with Carl. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but hey, when the going gets tough, as John Belushi would say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Yeah, it's episode 38. Hard to believe. I'm going to crank out 39 tomorrow and 40 on Monday. I can't even begin to explain. I don't think it matters. Anyway, at the end of the 52 weeks, I will have 52 episodes, 52 paintings, 52 sets of prints, and a book named 52 with 52 color plates and 52 short stories. Speaking of books, I'm going to plug another book today by Mercedes Blanchet. There's a picture of her. She's a Hungarian and just as funny as can be, but she's also just crushing on social media. So I bought her book, Social Media is Bullshit. I am telling the truth. Behind the screen, reality gets blurry. But in this book, the truth is sharp and clear. So she is a very funny comedian, and she first got popular on TikTok. And she still does TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Indeed, and of course, YouTube. And I always just watch her on YouTube pretty much exclusively. But she tells the best jokes, writes her own material, and is just hilarious. So this book is copyright 2025, so it's hot off the presses. She talks a lot about algorithms and different workings of the different platforms. She's a very smart woman. Anyway, I'm gonna plug her book because I did learn some stuff, and I'm not quite done yet. I'm about that far through it. But while we're plugging books, let me plug Amendment 21-A. Okay. Amendment, the number 21, dash, and the letter A. You can find this on Amazon. In fact, that's the only place you can find it. But it is, I published, this is my book. It's got 9 paintings, 8 short stories, and an introduction. And what if changing one thing could change the world? This is that one thing. Ending the war on drugs will be the single largest and most important change in the law in my lifetime. It will positively change the city that you live in, the country you live in, and the world that we all live in. It's hard to even wrap your mind around the changes this book will bring about until you read it. I think about all the unnecessary pain and suffering this war has brought to us all, and I'm just glad I was able to stop it. Just say no, stand with Van Gogh against illegal prohibition, baby. That's right. That's it right there in the back. Right? See? Rich Van Gogh. There it is. My website, vangogh.ink. You can find a lot of my work on there. vangogh.ink, like incorporated, only instead of INC, it's INK. Clever, right? Printmaker. Here's one of the lovely paintings in this book. This one's called Coke Machine. talks about how cocaine is derived from Central America and shipped all over the world. And to this day, Pete Kegsbreath is blowing up ships leaving Venezuela with a bunch of kilos of cocaine on it. It ain't working, Pete. It never has worked. You gotta legalize everything. So anyway, prohibition didn't work for alcohol. It's never going to work for drugs or anything else. Okay? That's the gist of the book. You may be wondering, if it's your first time stumbling upon this channel, what the hell is Travels with Carl? Well, Carl is my motorhome, so it's about me and Carl, mostly about me. And it's a little bit about travel, but travel more as a metaphor about my life, my journey through life as an artist. And you may not hear these kind of true confessions from many artists because they either made it or they gave up. I'm sort of in between. I made it like to the AAA level. Like if you're looking at the World Series, I made it to like maybe AAA. You know, but I keep thinking, hey, this is going to be the piece of art that takes it over the top. So this particular piece of art brings all of my skills together. I have a BFA in film and video, a master's degree in printmaking, been a painter all my life. And I've taken up writing lately, as you've seen that book. I'm getting close, somewhere in between Hemingway and Cormac McCarthy. I'm working on it. But I do want to do stand-up. And here's a picture of the Hyatt Key West Resort in Marina. That's what my painting is gonna look. I'm gonna derive a painting from this. But now they changed the name of it. Still in Key West, still on Front Street, but now it's called the Hyatt Centric Key West Resort and Spa. And instead of being like $200 or $300 a night, now it's like $500 a night. Anyway, a few years before I got there, they filmed a movie with Cuba Gooding called A Murder of Crows. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, a murder of crows is a group of crows, like a gaggle of geese or a school of fish. I don't know where they came up with that name, but I really like it. But I'm going to plug that film because part of it is literally shot right in the marina. We have also, the Hyatt had a boat when I was there, a sailboat. In fact, we went out on it numerous times, and it did a sunset sail and a snorkeling trips and stuff. But yeah, I had some good times at that hotel. So before I get into my episode 38, I did want to say I had a situation a little while ago. I'm just glad I only got fired. It could have gotten worse. This doesn't necessarily have to do with anything with Key West or my current job, which I will not tell you what it is. But I was on a bus one day in the big city, and it was busy. Young lady came on the bus, was standing room only. She was dressed to the nines, had a shopping bag in one hand and her phone in the other. I hated to think about her standing there in those high heels, so I offered her my seat. Well, that's where the trouble all began. You know, she took me up on it. She sat right down. You know, that in my defense, anytime a bus driver offers you their seat, I mean, unless you really know how to drive a bus, you should really decline that. But she didn't. And I was standing right next to her when she took off, man, and she just released the emergency or the parking brake that I had to put on, and like she knew what she was doing. Either she had driven before, or she had watched a driver, or you know, it's part of her fantasy, you know, which I'll get into more later. But she took off like a bat out of hell. And this bus, man, she just started mowing stuff down. And I knew when she hit the first stop sign and flattened it, I was just going to be lucky if I didn't get arrested. I wasn't driving. I just offered her my seat. Okay? She's just going down like 50 miles an hour on a surface street. Hits a fire hydrant, man, and I thought, well, thank God this is going to stop this, right? This is going to stop the bus. It didn't. But when she hit the fire truck that had been connected to that fire hydrant, that stopped the bus. Faux show. People ran off that bus so fast, there weren't no witnesses left when the police arrived. Of course, the firefighters were pretty upset because all the water they had been using was now just shooting like 50 feet up into the air. Just a little trickle coming out of the end of the hose. And a pretty serious fire going on in a restaurant there that was spreading. You just never know how your day is going to end. Anyway, let me get back to it. So there I am. I'm living in Key West. I'm living in Bahama Village, which I nicknamed Pajama Village, because it wasn't like it was a bunch of Bohemians there. I mean, it was just a little strip of Key West. I guess they thought it was going to work, you know, publicity-wise. Years ago, they called it Bahama Village. Anyway, I love my little house. Thank you, Poochie and Bob Myers, for renting me that house. And yeah, so there I was. One of the women that was a quarter owner of the gallery had given my name to the administrative assistant to the GM at the Hyatt, and I got hired right away. Now, I would say this is like what one of the buildings looked like. There were 3 buildings with a swimming pool kind of in the center courtyard. Low-rise buildings, but, you know, still 4 or 5 stories tall. And you won't believe this. I would say there's like 120 rooms, something like that. I was the only bellman. And there was no doorman. So when the guests arrived, the front desk would try and help them get their luggage out of their car, or set on a bell cart, or set somewhere in the lobby. Sorry about that. Alaska Airlines, right there, coming in for a landing. So, I mean, I've never been in a hotel in my life that only had one bellman. That was ridiculous. And no doorman, right? Either you have none, or you have like a dozen. I never, anyway, I made some good money there, and it was a pretty cool hotel. It had, like I said, it had a sailboat. It had a really unusual, really cool outdoor aquarium, but not really, I don't know what you would call it, not really an aquarium, because it was for red slider turtles. And you could actually get little containers of food from the front desk and you could feed them. And there had to be like 50 or 60 turtles in this thing. It's a pretty good sized thing, and they had little ramps they could come out of the water and climb up on and sun themselves out there. And you know, you'd see them every once in a while with a little one of those umbrella drinks. It's fantastic. People, especially kids or full-grown kids, just loved interacting with these turtles, and they were awesome. Anyway, you know, you're not supposed to handle them because they can give you some kind of a disease that's, you know, like slimy stuff coming off of their skin or their shells. I'm not sure, but you're not supposed to handle them. But it's probably not good for the turtle either. But one day they finally decided to hire a doorman, and he just immediately started stealing money from me. Then they got rid of him, but they hired a bellman instead. And the first thing, his first day there, the first sentence he ever spoke to me is, "Hey, you want a bump?" I'm like, "No, I don't want a bump, bro. I'm sober." But so if you're not familiar with that term, people that use cocaine, if they want to offer somebody a little taste or a little line or a little sniff, they call it a bump. I mean, they call it a lot of other things, but that's what he meant. And I knew that was going to be trouble right away, because we had some other people there that did a lot of coke, but I wasn't working with them. You know, they weren't handling my money. And I knew that this guy, if we tried to pull tips, I knew this guy for sure was going to, was going to be, because he wasn't like the kind of guy that's dealing, making a lot of money. He was the kind of guy that was dealing to get his own free coke. You know what I mean? And if he had to have a job, he wasn't really making money dealing. You know what I'm saying? So I was thinking, oh, this ain't gonna work, and it didn't. He didn't last long, and I didn't last much longer than them either, because I was pretty much done with the whole thing, and there was so many jobs there and so much going on that I moved on from that hotel to another hotel, which I'll talk to you all about tomorrow. That'll be job 39. And like I told you, I was on a roll. I was doing a run of once I left the security world and got into the bellman doorman gig, there was no coming back from that, because the money was good, the job is great. I still to this day highly recommend it. You know, if you feel like schlepping bags, okay, it's too much physical work for me now. I mean, I guess I could do it, but I don't really have the desire to. But Key West, right across the street, was a bar named Alonzo's, and it's still there. And I just checked on Google Maps to make sure, because I don't want to send you there and then you'd be disappointed. But they had happy hour every day. Excuse me, because really in Key West, every day is happy hour. I mean, that place is just off the hook. And they had fresh shrimp, steamed shrimp, that came in a big bowl with delicious broth, and you could just peel and eat shrimp. That was like a few bucks, man, for a big bowl of shrimp. They had stone crab, which they just served one of the claws. Now, they did start doing an interesting thing with stone crab. When they set traps for stone crabs, even though they're small little crab, just like they do for the king crab, only they're much shallower water. And they have two good-sized mitten claws. Well, they don't kill the crab. You don't eat the whole crab. You only eat the claw. But they were smart enough to realize that if they only took one claw, the claw would grow back. And the next season, if they caught that same crab again, they could just take the other claw, because as long as the crab has one claw to survive, they do fine. So they served, when stone crab was in season, which only happens once a year, and it runs for like a month or two or something like that. They had stone crab. Of course, they had all kinds of other things like deep fried fish, and what was another thing that I loved to order? But I was sober when I was there, as you know, May 1st, 2000. So this was probably like 2003, 2004, maybe as late as 2005, but no later than that. And, I was a cheap date, and it was fun to take other people to that bar, because, I'd be like, let's go to happy hour, man. And anyway, the very first thing I do when I get back to Key West is I'm gonna go straight to Alonzo's. I love that place. What else was that? I guess it was little fish bites, like, that were fresh and breaded and deep fried. I forget what kind of fish it was. I think it was mahi, dolphin fish, not to be confused with the dolphin. This is an actual fish called, in Hawaii they call it mahi mahi, but most places in Florida they call it the dolphin fish. I don't know why. Anyway, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, I got a lot of funny stories from this place, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to end it with the best one, because the general manager was about to retire. He told me that this was going to be his last Hyatt. This dude was making bank, okay, because he had like 20 years in with Hyatt, at least 20 years. And he had been in the food and beverage side of the hotel for a while. And then he was a general manager for probably like 10 or more years. But he had a house on Big Pine Key, which is a couple of keys north of Key West, company car that he drove for free, fat salary. I mean, he oversaw a hotel that had a department head for every part. Now, I'm not saying that a general manager job is, a piece of cake job. I know that it takes skill to be good at this job, which obviously, clearly he was. But let's just say he wasn't breaking a sweat. He wasn't schlepping bags like I was, and he was probably making, 150, 200,000 a year, plus just oodles of benefits, unlimited stays at any Hyatt he wanted to go to. I mean, well, they decided that they were going to do a renovation on the hotel, and they ripped out all the driveway, all the bricks in the driveway, which I ended up buying for $100, a whole dump truck load of bricks. And I'll save that story for another day, but it was supposed to be like a $2 million renovation. They hired a construction company and everything, and They're doing all kinds of stuff. New roof, doing all kinds of stuff to this. Boom, 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 boom. Lots of noise. Closing down one building at a time, renovating the rooms. Lots of noise. Lots of empty rooms. Losing money, hand over fist, but spending money faster than they were losing money. They realized there was something fishy with this construction company or with the general manager. Just stay tuned for the rest of the story. But there was something going on way over budget. Way over budget. So they hire another company to come in there. Now they're thinking now it's going to be like a $4 to $6 million renovation. But this is the Hyatt, and we're in Key West, and this is one of the, this is like a flagship property. They were making a lot of money, and it was always full. It was always busy, year round. Same thing happened. Something was going wrong with this construction company, and now they're looking at like $9 or $10 million renovation when they fired this construction company and brought on the third construction company. Now, at this point, I got to talk to Steve a good bit on the side, you know what I mean? He said to me one time that we were kindred spirits. And I think that's true. He never told me that he was skimming a couple $1 million off to augment his retirement plan, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Well, anyway, one day the regional manager was there who oversaw like the whole southern, I would say the whole southern part of the United States. I saw him there, and he was drunk, and he was hanging out in the office after hours, because sometimes I would be there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but most other people were gone at 5. Especially all the people in working around Steve in that office. Telephone operators and stuff like that. It would get down to a skeleton crew for the evening. And I see Steve hanging out with this guy, and they're both drunk, but the guy that was Steve's boss was really hammered. And I knew right then that things weren't gonna be copacetic pretty soon. And the next thing I know, 2 days later, Steve was fired. They gave him 2 hours to get his desk cleaned out and be off the property. And I think they gave him 2 weeks to get out of the house that they had given him rent-free as part of his salary. And what happened after that, I don't know. But that's how Steve's job ended and how my job ended. They had nothing to do with each other's ending, but it happened about the same time. But that's the first time I ever saw a renovation spiral that badly out of control. Oh man, I'll just tell you, it's good to be back. Carl's fine. But I had to shoot this episode inside my greenhouse because this is the first time I shot an episode inside the greenhouse. Look at this thing. It's just beautiful. Look at the roof on this thing. Right? I mean, it's big. And for a while there, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get this thing finished. Now, putting these poly panels in is the easiest part. The metal frame was a bitch. I mean, hundreds of parts. And I'm not counting like every little nut and bolt. I'm talking about the extruded aluminum parts, and oh my god. And the directions, it's of course made in China. The directions sucked. Anyway, It's good to see you all, man. Love you. Thanks for watching, and if you can, like and subscribe and share to my channel. I think I got like 34, 35 subscribers, and my goal, just like the Daily Beast, is 1 million. But they got a head start on me. They're up around 600, they're almost closing in on 700,000 subscribers, so I need your help. Oh yeah, if you're any good at this YouTube thing, shoot me a message, okay? I'll hire you and pay you. Okay, love you. Let's ride, baby.
Surrounded by the beast, the birds and the breeze, his motor home in the woods where creativity sees. Sun will abode, colors come alive on canvas. He paints, pressing on his drive with the spirits of the woods. He dances in delight, creating masterpieces every single night.